What are sociological paradigms? Sociological paradigms are considered as the core theories that we apply in order to understand how people interact within a society. In this video, we will discuss the three major sociological paradigms: social conflict, structural functionalism, and symbolic interactionism. First and foremost, we have the theory of social conflict, which was developed by Karl Marx. This theory assumes that different groups in society struggle over scarce resources, such as power, money, or status. The first conflict theory advanced by Karl Marx is class conflict. Think of it as society being made up of hierarchies, where the elite have structural ways of exploiting people with less power. Take, for example, a capitalist society, where the bourgeoisie, the rich upper class, were minority of the population, while the lower class, the proletariats, take majority of the population. You might think that the proletariats can take the upper hand in the situation, when in reality, it is actually the bourgeoisie who have the power within the society. This is because the bourgeois own factories and produce and sell products that the people need. The proletariats, on the other hand, only have their labor to offer. They are dependent on the factory owners in order for them to make a living. However, Marx believed that once the working class realizes the economic inequality in the situation, they would be able to develop something called class consciousness. Through this, the working class may be able to unite and become strong enough to overthrow the capitalist status quo. Other conflict theories focus on different kinds of groups, such as race conflict and gender conflict. Overall, conflict theory looks at how society defines sources of inequality and conflict. In contrast to the social conflict theory, structural functionalism proposed by Emile Durkheim corresponds society as an organism, with different parts working together to keep the organism alive. It sees the society as a complex system whose parts work together to promote stability and social order. These different parts of society are considered as social structures, which refer to as relatively stable patterns of social behavior wherein each structure fulfills certain social functions. And these social functions come in two types, namely the manifest and latent functions. Manifest function refers to the obvious or intended result of a particular structure, while latent function refers to the outcome of a particular structure that occurs unintentionally. Take, for example, schools. Schools fulfill the function of educating children or students, filling the minds of each student with different kinds of knowledge, which is their manifest function. But aside from that, schools can also help students in socializing. Additionally, schools help them to be responsible and be hard workers through things such as assigning tasks for them to do, or group works, and many more. That's their latent function. However, despite each social functions, social dysfunction also occurs. Social dysfunction is any social pattern that disrupts the smooth operation of the society. For instance, technology improves the lives of people, but new machines can put people out of their function or work. Thus, social dysfunction occurs. This is what makes it quite contrasting to the social conflict theory. Since structural functionalism sees society as fundamentally functional and stable, it can be really bad at dealing with change, in which apparently social conflict theory emphasizes. Moving on to our last theory. Symbolic interactionism was introduced to American sociology by George Herbert Mead in the 1920s. It was based on Max Weber's assertion, wherein he declared that individuals' actions depend on their interpretation of the meaning of everything that surrounds them. As a micro-level theory, symbolic interactionism focuses on the relationships among individuals within a society. On symbolic interaction theory, people are scrutinized on their tendency to give subjective meanings towards different things, events, and behaviors based on what they believe and not just what is objectively true. Moreover, individuals create symbols that give meaning to the world in their perspective. Such meanings could be developed and carried by constant social interactions. Thus, how people interact with each other depends on how they interpret factors such as language, actions, and status. For example, one might interpret a handshake as either a friendly greeting or cool farewell, depending on the context. Sometimes symbols change. For instance, long hair among males once symbolized rebellion, but as clearly seen today, it no longer symbolizes deviance. This shows how dynamic change can be over certain periods of time.